Listen, think, discern. This is Bob Burney Live. Bob Burney Live.
Listening, thinking, and discerning is not just a cute little phrase we use.
It needs to be a way of life.
We must raise up a generation of discerning Christians.
Call Bob now at 1-877-BOB-LIVE.
We are discussing issues that are not being discussed anywhere else. Theology and doctrine.
And world events, and yes, even politics from a biblical worldview.
The views expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views or opinions of the staff, management, or advertisers of this station.
We want people to listen, to think, and to discern.
Now it's time to think and discern. This is Bob Burney Live.
And I welcome you to today's edition of Bob Burney Live. Thank you for joining me. My telephone number is 877-BOB-LIVE, 877-262-5483. This is Friday, and normally we immediately open the phones for an open Friday, but today's going to be a little different because I have a guest in the studio with me. I am delighted to welcome Wally Ziolo, who is the area coordinator for Operation Christmas Child. And he and his wife have just returned from a trip. Both? Just you, Wally. Okay, Wally just returned from a trip. He's been lying on the beach in the Bahamas for Operation Christmas Child. No, I guess that's not correct.
No, not the Bahamas, Bob. Uganda.
Uganda. And this is fresh, and I wanted Wally to come in. Those of you who are regular listeners know that we here at WRFD are huge supporters of Operation Christmas Child. And when I heard about Wally's trip and what God did, well, I wanted you to hear about it. So, Wally, it is a delight to welcome you to the program.
Well, thanks again, Bob, for having us. And it was a vacation in my heart, but we did go for work, and we were handing out the shoe boxes that so many people around the nation and other countries packed in 2011.
Well, now, wait a minute. This is Operation Christmas Child. What are you doing handing out Christmas boxes in May and June?
Well, we all know that Santa Claus can do it in one night, but
it takes Operation Christmas Child a little longer.
It takes us quite a long while because we have customs to go through. We have to get permission to go into countries. So it could take up to a year to get the shoe boxes that you packed with your own two hands into the hands of a child somewhere in the world.
And I think that's really important for our listeners to know, that even though the big push is at Christmas, this is a year-round ministry. Not only collection, but also distribution. It goes year-round.
Exactly, and that's why I'm called a year-round volunteer, because we work all year round to make sure that a child will get that shoebox and the message of Jesus Christ.
Now, how did this trip come about? Is this your first foreign trip for Operation Christmas Child?
With Operation Christmas Child, yes. And what they typically do, when you're a newer area coordinator, they'd like to get you out into one of the distributions so that you can come back and tell your area team and the area that you serve all about what really happens at the end of the cycle of the shoebox.
Sure, absolutely.
So I was chosen out of 80 people across the country to be one of those special people that went.
All Americans? Mostly Americans?
From our team, yes, all Americans. We saw examples that the UK had been in Uganda with Samaritan's Purse. We saw a water station that they had made, a water filtration system. So the world does impact countries like Uganda. But this trip was all Americans.
Okay. I want to get to the distribution itself, but before we do that, become a box. Can you do that? Become a shoebox, and Wally, walk us through how that shoebox that you hand-delivered in Uganda, how it got there, from beginning to end. Walk us through.
Sure. Well, we have different roads where we can start out as a shoebox. We can get a shoebox from a shoe store. We buy a pair of shoes, It's an adult-sized box, a regular-sized box. We really try to stay away from the huge boxes like the boot boxes. So you're a shoebox. And in that shoebox, we want to fill it up with love. So I want to be a love message to the world. So I'm going to put inside of myself here, I'm going to put some crayons, because in Uganda it takes a week's worth of work to buy an 8-pack of crayons. And families just don't have that kind of money to put into a shoe.
1 week labor to buy a box of crayons.
1 week labor to buy an 8-pack of crayons.
An 8-pack?
Yeah, just an 8-pack.
Yes, you always get our grandkids the 100 box, or the 150 box. This is an 8-pack.
An 8-pack.
1 week of work.
So if you would go without any electricity, go without any food or anything else, you could have an 8-pack of crayons. It's not feasible. So I would put crayons in myself here in my shoebox. I would also want to put some school supplies, because in those countries, the children are required to have their own supplies to go to school. So I'd want to put a lot of pencils and a sharpener. I'd want to put paper, notepad, something like that. And then, of course, we all want to feel loved. So an animal, a toy, a doll, something to show love, something to hold on to and take with you. And then, of course, hygiene items, because many of these children don't have soap, they don't have a washcloth, they have to share a toothbrush with their family. Maybe they don't even have one. I've heard of children using sticks in Uganda to brush their teeth.
I've seen it.
And then toothpaste, obviously, a big tube of toothpaste. It tastes really good. They may eat it the first day, but at least they have it. And then just fill in the rest of the box with goodies. We like to have hard candy because, again, this might be setting in customs for a long time. In hot temperatures, we don't want anything that will melt like chocolate.
And this is assembled often, although not always, but often in a local church somewhere, as I've done with local churches here in Columbus. Okay, so the box is packed.
Right, and then we top it off with one last really important element. Well, there's actually two important elements. We want to introduce ourselves. Who packed that box? Well, we know it was delivered by Jesus Christ, but who packed it? So we want to put a picture inside, and maybe a letter, a personal letter to the child, introducing yourself, and a contact, because you might get a letter back, which would be an incredible thing for you to experience as a family or as an individual or a church. And then the final thing that we put in that box is prayer, because that prayer
very important.
Will carry through to the child.
Sure. Okay, so it's packed.
It's packed.
At the church.
Yeah.
Now what?
So now my church is going to take this to a collection center in the third week of November. So I go on to the website, columbusocc.info or samaritanspurse.org/OCC, and I look for a relay center or a collection center in my area. And I take that shoebox to that location. I might fill out a little quick piece of paper, and then I drop off that shoebox. I can pray for it again if I'd like to, and that would be a good thing to do.
Okay.
It's got a long way to go.
Goes to the distribution center.
Goes to the distribution center, collection center, and then it's going to be shipped to a number of facilities across the United States. Ours will go to, from the Columbus area, we're either going to Boone, North Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina, where there's a team in that time frame, about 5 or 6 weeks, doing nothing but processing these shoe boxes.
Just passed the distribution center in Charlotte last week.
Okay. And
just drove by and waved.
That's our largest one in the United States, and it is an incredible vision when you're inside and you see all the shoe boxes coming in and going out.
Okay, so individuals, local church, then goes to a distribution center, Charlotte or someplace else.
Right, that's the processing
What
center.
happens there?
And there the box is going to be inspected. We want to make sure that everything inside is good to go. Nothing's going to be taken out in that foreign country.
Every single box is inspected.
Every box.
Wow.
We want to make sure there's no chocolate or anything that will ruin the contents of the box. No liquids, nothing like that. No perishable items, no food that will spoil or turn rancid. We also would like to find, and this is something important in the shoebox, and I forgot to mention, $7 to make sure that the box has a shipping allotment to get it to wherever it's going. So $7 per shoebox. So we'll take that money out, put it into the funds for the shipment of the shoeboxes. We also can fill some items in. If it's a kind of a light box, we might fill it in with some extra items. We typically